Alright, I just wanted to record a quick video about branch protection rules and what they're calling here as the Github Flow, but more or less just creating new branches and then merging those branches with pull requests. So the idea behind this is just that we want to make sure that all of our code and all of our changes we make to our game have been through a review process before we merge it into the actual um, master branch of our repository. And it just adds a layer of quality control that's useful. So this little graph or chart or whatever you want to call it, I guess it's almost like a presentation on this website that GitHub has made, sort of overviews the process. So the idea is that if you're working on a game or any kind of software, when you first start off to make a new feature, you want to create a branch for that feature. And then you'll add your commits as you work. So these commits will be you implementing the feature. Then once you're done implementing the feature, it's time to open a pull request. And the pull request is almost like a conversation between you and a reviewer. And you'll work with them to make sure that you are doing things the right way and adhering to whatever style conventions and other guidelines are necessary. It's also a good opportunity to test your stuff and make sure it's all working the way you imagined. And then once your reviewer approves, you can see that your branch is then merged back into master here. And so this line at the top are the actual changes to master. And here's our little branch that came off while we made our new feature, got it approved, and then merged it back into master. So we want to actually change the settings of our repository so that this is the only way code can be added to master. Or not just code, anything, right? We want to make sure that the artists don't accidentally put a whole bunch of model files in the scene folder. We want to make sure that the sound designer doesn't put a bunch of music files in this plugins folder, right? So it's really about managing the entire project. Any change to this project we want to review before we merge it in. So the way to mandate that is to go to your repository settings here and look for the tab that says branches. And here we can see that the default branch is master. And that's good. So master is the branch that we want to protect. We want to make sure no one is able to make changes to it unless we have reviewed it through the pull request process. So we're going to go over here and choose add rule. And we have to let it GitHub know which branch we want to apply the rule to, and we're just going to have to type in master. I'm surprised you can't select it from a list, but you can't, so just type in master. And then here's the rules that are available. And we want to require pull request reviews before merging. And we're okay with just one approving review. And I think we can just leave the rest of this stuff. Well, let's go ahead and check this one too. So check this dismiss stale pull request approvals when new commits are pushed. This will just make sure that all of the new commits have been through review. Alright, so we want to check require pull requests and dismiss stale pull request approvals. And we only need one approving review. That's fine for our purposes in this class. Alright, and then I'm just going to hit create, and in theory that should work out. I have to confirm my password, and we're good. Okay, so what this means, it says it may take a few minutes to take effect, so I don't know if this will screw up my ability to demonstrate what this just did. But if I go back to our Unity project here, let's see if alright, so I don't have any changes at this moment, right? But let's say I made one. So let's go back to the project window, assets, and I'm just going to right click and try and create another just throwaway asset just to get a generic change for example purposes. So I'll create a triangle this time. So I added the triangle. If we look at the changes list in our GitHub window, remember you can get to that from the window menu and select GitHub. You'll see we are adding the triangle art asset, and also this meta file. So I can go ahead and say, all right, I want to go ahead and add this to the project. This is what I wanted to do. So I'll say adds triangle for an example. Okay. Now, assuming that those permissions have had enough time to take effect, this shouldn't work. Hopefully that's the case. In fact, maybe I'll just pause the video for a second and then try it in like 2 minutes. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so it's been a couple minutes. Let's hope this thing works. I'm going to hit the commit button and hopefully it doesn't work. Hopefully it doesn't let me commit this because we tried to set up this rule to block that from happening. So, well, actually, I can probably make the commit, but it's the push that's going to have a problem here. In theory. Oh boy, it still worked. So that's not what I was hoping would happen. All right, so I'm not 100% certain what is happening with the GitHub plugin for Unity. It almost seems like you can just bypass branch protections with it, but maybe I'm overlooking something. Either way, I'll show you. So here's GitHub Desktop. It's the same repository. I just cloned it in GitHub Desktop. I try to make just a random test change here to see if the branch permissions worked. So I try to delete this README file, and if I try to push this, it actually gives me the correct error here. But I don't know why. I don't know why this one still works. So we're not going to worry about it. The long story short is I'm going to make sure that you use pull requests for class. That's just how it's going to go. And so what we need to start getting in the habit of doing is rather than working directly on the master branch, you can see we're on the master branch here, we need to click this branches button and make a new branch for whatever we're trying to do. So in this case, it's just going to be a very simple test. So we'll say new branch, and I will type in the name of my new branch, which will be demo pull request. And we can try and create that. Oh, you can't have spaces or capitals in your branch names. So normally you use like hyphens. So demo pull request, create that branch. All right, remember you want to name the branch after the feature that you're adding. So when we're working in class, if we're say working on the inventory, we'll name our branch inventory. And then we will make all the commits that add the inventory feature, and then we will open a pull request and merge it in. In this case, it's just an example, so it's less important what we name this one. But going forward, when we're doing real work, you're going to want to name your branches exactly what they're adding. If you add a thing that's not about the name of the branch, that's probably a bad idea. So we want to keep our branches very singularly purposed. Okay, so next I need to make sure I switch to that branch. You can see that this, right now the check mark is by master, so we're in this branches tab still, and the check mark is by master, so I'm on the master branch. I need to switch to this demo pull request branch, so I just right clicked here and I hit switch, and in theory this will work. And so branches are essentially exact copies of the parent that the branch is from at whatever point in time you made the branch. So if I were to look at my repository here, when I made my branch, it will be an exact copy of master whatever commit I was at when I made the branch. So that would be here. If you make your branch way back 2 days ago, then your branch would be an exact copy of the repository starting from this point, right? So it's a good idea to update before you make a new branch. So by update, you can just, pull. So I guess if other people were working on your game, you would want to make sure that you have their latest and greatest stuff before you started your new branch. Otherwise, you'd have to deal with merging their changes back into your stuff later, which can get messy and annoying. All right, so just in case you wanted to know, so if you wanted to pull before you made a branch, this pull button here would update your branch, and then you could make the branch. But there's no one else working on my game, so I'm not super concerned about someone sneaking in a commit, especially since supposedly I have branch protection on, and no one can really commit to this without approving a pull request anyhow. All right, so I'm on this demo pull request branch. Now is where I can go ahead and make my changes. So I would just do work like normal. I'm going to delete this triangle sprite I have here because I don't really want that. So that was just a test to test committing. So I'm going to go ahead and select this, which means yes, I want to commit this removing this file. So we'll say removing test file. And I will commit to that branch. You can see it listed the name of the branch I'm committing to. Make sure it doesn't say master. Make sure it says whatever branch you're actually intending to commit to, and it should never be master for our class going forward. It should be whatever you're working on. All right, and so once I've got that done, I can push. So this branch right now doesn't exist on the server, right? The GitHub website doesn't know about this branch, but presumably when I push, it will push the entire branch to the remote server here. So let's see if that works. Like I said, this whole GitHub plugin for Unity, I'm not super sure how it works sometimes, but we'll give it a shot. I suspect this will do what I think it says. So it says it pushed the branch. And sure enough, here it is under remote now. So if I were to go to my GitHub website here and look at the repository, you can see this branch was pushed less than a minute ago. If I go to branches here, I can see there's the default branch, which is supposed to be locked, but that's not really working. And then we have this demo pull request branch. Now let's really quickly step through the pull request process. What I'm going to do is just when I'm ready, when I've made my last push before I'm ready to do my pull request, I would just go to the GitHub website and you'll see your last push here. And I'm just going to choose this compare and pull request button. I think that's the easiest way. I don't even know if there's a way to do it through here. Probably not if I had to guess. So you just have to go to the GitHub website, find your branch, and hit the compare and pull request button. If that button isn't there, let's see, I think probably you can go to the pull requests tab here and you'll see a list of the choices, and you'll find whatever you're looking for there and then hit the button right there. So compare and pull request. So we can see that we're trying to compare our demo pull request branch to the master branch. And here is my only commit note that I made when I was working on this branch. So this is just like a summary of this entire pull request. Like what was the feature I was doing? So like I said, if this was supposed to be adding the inventory feature, that's what I would type here. But this is just a test. I can maybe name this a little bit better. I'll say removing test file to demonstrate pull request. PR is just abbreviation for pull request. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create my pull request. And it can show us a couple things. It's going to show us, here's all the files that changed, right? So compared to master, these are the only differences. we removed this PNG file and we removed the associated meta file. Those are the only differences. So if you are assigned to review a pull request, you're going to want to look at the files changed thing here, and these are the only ones you need to actually review. So let's take a quick look back at just the beginning of this pull request here. If you need to find your pull request, you can just click on the pull request tab for your repository. Here it is. This actually has its own link. So if I ever ask you for a URL to your pull request, you would go to this and then copy this URL and send it to me however I asked. Okay, so we are requiring at least one approving review. So we're gonna have to add a reviewer. Now, I'm going to assign you a reviewer, so you'll have to figure out who that person is once I tell you, and then find their GitHub account and add them as a collaborator through the settings. So you go to settings, you go to collaborators, and you can see I have a collaborator here. You would want to add whoever I assign to you, and you should probably add your instructor as well, because we may want to spy on what's going on too and leave you nice helpful comments, etc. Anyway, I'm just going to assign myself as the reviewer for this, which I think I can do just for the purposes of accelerating through this demo at a reasonable pace. So I don't know if I thought I could do that, but maybe I can't. So maybe I can't just, oh yeah, here we go, assign yourself. Cool. So I assign myself as a reviewer. You shouldn't do that. This is just, I'm only doing this for demo purposes, but like I mentioned, you're going to be assigned someone and you'll have to add them as the reviewer. All right, so let's pretend I was assigned to review this thing. My job is to look at the files changed, and then I'm going to start reviewing the changes, right? So what I would do is I will find the first file that I care about. I guess I should have used a code file because then I could actually comment on specific lines. But let's say I'm like, for some reason, I don't like this particular line. I'm not sure what it's for. This is a bad example because it's a meta file, but let's imagine it was code. I could say, why is this here? Or what's it doing? Or you need to change this, you need to change that. Whatever the problem is, you click the little plus button and specify in a comment. You can even do things like ping people. You can say at whoever you're trying to talk to just to make sure it's clear that you're trying to communicate with someone specific or get their attention. You can put in emojis. You can use Markdown to make this formatted however you want. You can do code stuff. So like a code block is just 3 of the back quotes. And you can see what that looks like. And when I'm done with my comment, I'm going to hit start a review. And so here's my first comment and everything. So then, once I've went through and reviewed all the stuff, we are going to want to, as the code owner, read the comments and address this in address whatever revisions that were asked for, right? And so the way to do that is you just make whatever changes you need while you're still on that same branch. So you would make whatever changes and then just commit and push them just the same way you have been, just as long as you're on the same branch that's got the pull request open. And that will just sort of update the pull request with your new changes. And once you've addressed all of the changes, you'll have to let your reviewer know. I would say, hey, so-and-so, I've addressed all the stuff. And you can even do like checkboxes, like if you want to say, look at this, I did your thing. Whatever you want, if you want to list out, I guess I didn't do that syntax right, but there's a way to do it. You can look it up. It's just a markdown syntax thing. Anyhow, when you're all happy with it, You tell whoever reviewed you that you're done making the revisions. They're going to want to go through and reinvestigate your changes, double check everything is squared away. Once everything's all done and it looks good, you can say either you still need more changes, so still needs work, or you could say looks good and say something nice about it or whatever you want. And then you can, I guess it's not going to actually let me approve my own pull request, but this is how it would go if you were assigned to review someone. So it's just if you want to request more changes, you would choose this and then hit that button. If you want to approve, you choose that and hit that button. And once someone has approved, you will see a big shiny merge button on the main page of the pull request. So like if I were to, I think I can minimize this file some way again. I don't, let's see. So there would be a merge button once this gets approved, and you could click merge. So I want whoever the reviewer is, you are responsible for pressing the merge button when it's done. And when you press that merge button, there'll be another button that says delete the branch, which I also want you to press. So once we've merged this thing into master, we don't need it anymore. So we will delete this branch once it gets merged. All right, that about covers it. Sorry for the hiccups, but hopefully it gets the point across, and feel free to just ask me about it in class if you have any confusion.